All right, here we go. Episode 12. It's Monday. I'm trying to drive them on Monday, so it's 6:22. Coming off a week where we got to attend the World Cup. Dylan and I went to the U.S. Open, and then he had a lacrosse tournament in Long Island this weekend. So the Panda stats for the end of the year. I got three more letters of gratitude to add to the wall, which I'm super stoked about. I had three Father's Day cards. Each kid in Mego gave me a Father's Day card. Um, I attended one party. We had our big teacher retirement party. If you want to get like motivated as a teacher, obviously going into the summer, we get a little break here, but like to go to a teacher retirement party and this is we have one where we honor like lots of teachers in Wellesley and to listen to like what these people have done over, anywhere between 6 and 30 years or 40 years, it's crazy. And it's super motivating. So I want to make a note about that. And then stats from this weekend, I drove just over 500 miles just down to Long Island. I watched five lacrosse games. I made a friend, like a real friend that I'm super stoked on. I hope I continue to text him. But that's what this is about, right? Like this, whatever. Like, but on the weekends at these tournaments now, I try to put myself out there in full disclosure. Like this dude said, "What's up to me?" Because we had talked about golf and when the U.S. Open was coming up. We spent all weekend talking. We spent all weekend talking about like what it's like to be a 40-year-old dad. What's the best way? Actually, I have no idea how old he is. But what's the best way to like parent our kids through the club sports stuff, right? Because like I'm of the opinion like club sports aren't going to stop. Like where I'm at again, I think um, our goal in our house is for our kids to have an opportunity to play varsity, and varsity is super competitive in communities like where I live in Metro West Boston or outside of any city. So we just like it's not something we're going to stop, but we talked about like how do we navigate through this, right? Like, what's the best thing I can do as a dad? And he shared a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to share it all on this because I hope like next week or the week after I could have him be like a guest on this podcast. Again, don't know how to do that. But I made an awesome friend. I met like five other parents on the team, which was cool. We went out to dinner, so I know their names. I know a little bit about where they're from. And then at the bar at the Marriott, I met four or five more guys that are like in the neighboring town to mine. They live in Walpole. Their kids are different ages, so I don't know where we'll overlap again, but we had a good night. One of them was a super soccer nerd, so we were just watching the World Cup. As I was looking at this for this week's episode, I don't have a ton of notes because I've been going nuts. Like, I don't have that much time to write or think about this stuff. And a lot of it's just been about soccer. So again, next year, I think I'm in line, or I'm hoping to be like the seventh and eighth grade coach for both Rory and Dylan. And for Rory, I think I'm going to be the head coach. I hope. And so I just write down all sorts of stuff, and I'm trying to figure out how I can condense it and break it down to like something that's good for seventh and eighth graders to understand. And then the real curveball is like understand it like when we only practice once a week, and like at those practices, sometimes we have four kids, right? Or we have seven kids. If we have four kids, we just try to cancel it most of the time. But so a lot of my stuff has just been soccer nerd stuff this week. But I made a friend, like a real friend, which is awesome. And that's the point of this whole thing, right? Like the whole idea is I don't have time to make relationships, and on the sidelines we're anxious, our kids are anxious, and thank God this dude said what's up to me. So we watched five games together. We hung out between games, hanging in a tree under the shade, and we talked about a lot of stuff, and it was awesome. And we talked about how important it is, for guys to talk about this stuff, right? And I know it's probably important for women too. I don't know. I'm sure it is. Obviously, Megan and I always talk about everything we got going on, but like it's real. It really helps most of the guys I know to have a golf trip on the books. And I'm sure it helps women too. It's just I don't know, right? But adults, we need to make time to like date our spouses, to see our friends, to build relationships, right? This whole thing. And I was able to do that this weekend. So it was so much fun. So shout out to that dude. He said he'd probably listen to the podcast on the way home. I don't know if he is or not, but I texted him today. And I hope to keep that relationship going because it was cool. But yeah, I learned five more names on Dylan's team and then met some guys I mentioned. I just came from my annual physical. I still have my thing here. Don't have the blood numbers back yet, but I'm weighing just over 200 pounds, and my blood pressure is 107 over 74, which the nurse says is good. I still don't totally listen or understand that, but I thought it'd be funny since I have a section of panda stats. My personal panda points last week, I gave it a -1,000. But I did make a note that Mego and my buddy who drove, like I just didn't do a lot last week. I feel like Mego beat me to the dishes, beat me to the laundry. This weekend, she got home before I did. So Sunday when I got home, a lot of the chores were done. So I love you, Mego, and I appreciate all that. And then my buddy, we were kind of going back and forth about driving out to Union Point. Um, and I think he lives the same life I do, right? So I think he does it, and he's happy for me that I don't have to do it. So I'm definitely was like a -1,000 panda points. I didn't get a lot done this week in terms of like helping out Mego, goal number one, and like helping Mego out around the house. She just beat me to a bunch of stuff. And I didn't have to drive a bunch. And my driving was awesome this weekend because it was Dylan and I went down to Long Island and we got to go to the US Open and then he had lacrosse. And he's been really proud of how he's been playing. And it's been awesome. His team's been winning a lot of games. He's not in the top team, so he's not in the top division, but that doesn't matter, right? We shouldn't care about wins and losses, but he's been growing. I just got to be careful. I want to make sure I don't put my kids up too much on this, but Dylan's been killing it in lacrosse, and I think he knows that, and I'm proud of him, and I hope he's proud of himself. But honestly, I'm gonna try not to like do that because I don't know if this embarrasses him too much. But I hope it doesn't. Yeah, I meant the biggest smile this week was definitely just listening to some of my friends talk about my other friends at work and like all they've given for kids. And it's just so cool to understand like how what we're all doing, right? Because I know the people in my like the fourth floor like that I share a photocopier with, but I don't even know everything everyone else is doing in my school all the time. But I think we lost a bunch of good people this year. We lost some people in some leadership positions for sure. And they've done a bunch of cool stuff. And listening to like your friend or colleague and friend talk about someone else and how much they've helped them and how impressed they are by them, like it's awesome. So that was definitely my biggest smile. That I'm going to say is my biggest smile of the week I wrote. But again, I made a new friend, and Dylan and I had a bunch of smiles this weekend. Lost in the Wild, the funny one, like Panda being lost in the wild. Um, we drove down to New York. There are some funny stories. I may or may have pulled up to the wrong hotel, which is my favorite hotel in Long Island, in Melville, New York. And then all my stuff died, like my phone and watch died, and I had to drive to the one. But anyway, I'm not gonna kill that story. That's more if I'm ever like a stand-up comedian. We can talk about that kind of panda stuff. Um, but Dylan and I got to the hotel at like midnight and we had to get up at 4:30, right? Because I just wanted to get out there. Everyone said the traffic was bad. So Friday night we were pretty gassed. We had a great day. We were able to get close to a bunch of golfers, including Wyndham Clark. We saw the course, super fun. Dylan got a bunch of autographs. Great day. Um, but so we were gassed, right? Like Friday night we were gassed. So we tried to order room service, but apparently you can't do it. Like I gave Dylan the order. He called. He tried to order and he said they're not doing room service. And then so I was like, oh, I guess I'll just walk down and get us something because I'm lost and don't understand. Until it just immediately goes, guess it's Uber Eats. So from Uber Eats, we ordered a pizza, a salad the next day, and then we did like the double dip or whatever they call it, the double dash. I think it was DoorDash, actually, the door whatever. And the dasher went to CVS to get us ice cream. Of course, that was a bad panda moment. I look over and Dylan eats like a third of his, super happy over, and I like crushed mine. And I almost ate some of his too, but I was like, well, I can't do this. And I couldn't believe he didn't yell at me more for eating all of it. And then the other thing we got, so the dasher stopped at CVS to grab those, and then we got a bunch of lotion. So definitely minus a couple hundred more panda points. Went to the U.S. Open, no sunscreen on us, and Dylan has like a mark like right here, and whatever. We got tan lines now. Um, but anyway, so that was funny. Like I was just like, oh man, I guess we got to go downstairs because my brain still goes to like 40-year-old old school. How do I get food? And Dylan instantly is like, just DoorDash. They drop it off downstairs. We'll run and get it. So that was a funny moment. For community panda points this week, I had negative 732 points to the person who was at Boston Stadium in section 33, row 17, seats 17 and 18. They just dumped their nachos on the person in front of them. Like I've never seen that, I don't think, in real life, but me and Roar were a couple seats behind. We looked down and people were like scooting to their seat and just dumped it like all over the girl in front of them. Like she didn't, she took it, she didn't like scream or whatever, but she didn't yell at them, but just everywhere, like nachos on the sleeve, nachos on the back, just sauce everywhere. So that was the worst neighbor award. Um, I gave a score of plus 1,450 to all the behavior Friday at the US Open. It's funny, I wrote this down and I know people got out of hand apparently on Sunday. I heard, listen to Foreplay this morning, but like, I think everyone was so happy to be there, right? Like going to a major, going to a golf tournament, I think is like a neat pilgrimage, for rich people, rich golfers, who are, at one point I did stand next to a black couple, but 99.9% of the people at this event are white people. Um, and everyone was like so nice. Like every time we came to a merge or something, it'd be like, you go, no, you go, no, you go. Because I think everyone was just in such a great mood, right? It's just fun to be there. It was a sunny day. People are drinking outside. They're hanging with their son. They're hanging with their dad. They're hanging with their whole family. It was cool. And then, so it's the same people, obviously, right? We know that like to play club sports is like a middle or upper middle class thing. Landon Donovan mentioned it this week, how like he wouldn't have been able to play soccer unless he got sponsored to do it. And he's like the highest goal scorer of all time, I think, on the men's side for us. But lacrosse is that even times 10, right? Like soccer, soccer is the world's game, and lots of people play soccer. And in the U.S., that is now a middle or upper middle class sport because you pay $4,000 to join the team. Like I've been traveling since March. Me or Mego, like almost every other weekend, are gone in another state, so it's another $1,000 for a hotel. There's gas, there's flights, whatever. But obviously, it costs 15, 20, $30,000 to like have your kids play on teams like what my kids play on, where you have conference games that are 4 hours away, right? You need a hotel room, and you have 2 or 3 flights a year. Um, but so lacrosse is that to an extreme. Like if you go to a lacrosse, like it's just like going to a country club. So I'm at the U.S. Open. We give them plus 1,450 points on Friday, and Saturday and Sunday minus infinity, right? It's the same people, right? It's the same, the people I'm talking to, the people I want to build relationships. But we lose all the points for yelling at your kid for not hustling, for joy sticking them, for yelling them out like physical mistakes, like come on, catch the ball, like as if young Jimmy wasn't trying to catch the ball. Um, but so last lacrosse tournament, I think for like a month, I thought we were done, but I think Dylan has one more. Roy has some soccer tryout thing we have to go to in July. But right now we're off. Like my family went down to the Cape today. I gotta finish up work tomorrow, and I'm gonna head down, and then we're off till like July 6th. But anyway, so it's just funny to see. I just the points there, like everyone's in such a good mood at the U.S. Open, right? Because it's fun. It's something you don't get to do a ton. In our sports, we do all the time, right? But just the vicariously living through our kids thing was right there. Because I swear it could have been the same guy, right? It's someone in like a Masters hat, an old sandwich hat, a Barstool logo, or like a Trip from Ireland logo shirt. And right, these are the same people I see Friday being the most polite, happiest people ever at a U.S. Open, which has nothing to do with their family, but it's cool, super cool to see, right? And then on Saturday, those same people, same logos on their chest from all the same, top 100 golf courses in the world. And now they're crazy people, right? Now we're just yelling, screaming at our kid, and not everybody, right? I met a great guy. Pause. I met, there are people, but like we're trying to put his percentage on it this weekend, getting guessing a little bit, and I was like, I don't know. For me, is it a third, a third, a third, right? Like a third crazy, a third not, and a bunch of us in the middle trying to figure it out. I don't know what the numbers is, but it is like whatever juxtaposition. We know I don't have a large vocabulary, but like Friday, the same logo on a shirt said, "Sure, go ahead. Hope you're having fun with the sun." And the next day it was like yelling at number 40 because he wasn't hustling hard enough. That's Dylan's number. But anyway, so weird thing to see there. Um, so questions I had were like about the end of school again. I didn't write a ton down. Um, but like so the first thing I heard before this guy said what's up to me, Dylan was warming up his first of 5 games, and I just hear a coach go, "Get over here. You're walking in the field too. That's why I had to call the timeout." And he's upset, right? And this is where like I want to have this conversation, ask the question, because I don't know if I'm too oversensitive because I talk to kids about their mental health all the time. I know where they're at, or where a lot of them are at. But like, so here's my thing. We know coaching, you can coach boys and girls different, right? And I'm saying we know, maybe I shouldn't even say it like that. I believe that to be true, right? That boys react differently than girls in that situation, right? I think there is still, you can still, and I have to look up the science, but I operate under the impression that like girls want you to build relationships, right? They need to feel safe to make mistakes, and so for coaching, that's super important to let them grow. Where boys, I think we can still say run through a wall, and whatever the makeup is, they still kind of want to do it. But so my question is like, what does that make sense, right? Like, are our boys still like our 11, 12, our 8-year old? Oh my God. So at the bar, we get back to the bar, and I just heard people telling stories about coaches and teams and whatever. And the guys I met were talking about the 8-year-old game. And like, I forget exactly what they said. I didn't write it down. I was, trying. There's a weird thing where like, obviously, a huge goal of this is to try and be present, build relationships. But obviously now I'm going to do this once a week, so I need to like take notes. But they were saying psychotic things about what people were saying to 8-year-old boys on a lacrosse field. Um, so my question like is like, should it be more, would it be if we treated it more relationship based with the boys too? Like if we built relationships with that boys, would we get more out of them? And would they be prouder of their effort? Would they grow faster and get more out of the sports? Um, and it's one of those things where like I feel like yes, like in special education a lot, they tell us like rather than thinking of like how to change it down, like what can everybody do, and then can we differentiate getting higher? And it's kind of like the same thing. There's lots of good practices we do that might help like a kid in a moment, but maybe it's good for all kids. Like that's the message a lot of times for things we do. Um, and so I'm trying to think like should it be more relationship based with boys and less about like go run through the wall and I don't know. Or maybe like again, I've looked up some of this stuff. I don't have it in front of me. I'm not an expert with it, but like it is proven that for girls to be successful, you need to build a relationship with them. And for boys, I don't know that I've seen the same research, but like I think it's got to be true. So I just have a question around that. Um, and like in that moment, right? So guy calls a timeout, they're walking over, he's screaming at him even more. So they don't feel good, they're tired, maybe they're confused. But like you could not say that to a girls team. I mean you could, but it's not going to be productive. I just haven't coached boys as much. But so my question's about that. Like, should we treat boys and girls differently when we coach? I think we should. I think we have to. But I don't know what that different looks like or what that totally is. Um, I had another question on just like uh, what causes you to email a teacher or a coach? Um, and that's just a question, right? That's a bigger conversation that I'm not going to talk about all today, but it was notes that I had this week, so I just want to make sure I name that. And I have a bunch of soccer stuff here. Um, but yeah, so I think my questions are again just about how we handle kids coaching and as parents. Um, again, I had great conversations with this dude this weekend on we both talked about like some of our flaws and mistakes as parenting as dad and things we're trying to do better. And that's the goal of this whole thing. So I got to live it in real life. And it was awesome. But I'll leave that there. My one big topic for this week is like the toxic dinner table, and really like in talking about schools. So we went to the World Cup game on Tuesday, and at 4 o'clock, that's when the kids like clusters came out. So in our middle school, there's like 3 clusters per grade. So those are kids. I think how it works is you take your main subjects with them, and then you can have other ones outside of your cluster. But so it's important. The kids are nervous and they want their friends to be in their cluster, right? And then even hopefully in their advisory, I think is what they hope for. But so that stuff was coming out at 4 o'clock. So, kids' watches start blowing up and they deal with that or whatever. But what it made me think about is like, maybe we'll call it 4 years ago. I was in the old neighborhood and it was like the day the teacher assignments came out, right? So, like in elementary school, obviously you just have one teacher. And I'll never forget, but one of my buddies, like she's a good friend of mine. We don't see each other that much, but like we were with Rory, and we said like she said, Rory, what teacher do you have? And she said the name, and I don't even remember what year or who it was. But my friend immediately gave like a oh, and that's the stuff that we're talking about, I think, was sports and the toxic dinner table, right? So this is what happened all this week, right? Like anytime I saw my kid interact with an adult, they often had an opinion, right? So what cluster are you in? What science teacher do you have? Whatever. And that opinion, uh, if they shared it, uh, sometimes it was good, but sometimes it was bad. And so my thing is that I think we have to talk about or work on is like not sharing that information if it's not good, right? If it's good, I think you can do it. But I think if it's not good, if your child had a bad experience or you had a bad experience with that teacher, I think we got to keep that in our pocket. But this is my question, right? Like, what do we think? Because every kid has a different experience, right? I have, excuse me, I just said bye to 150 young people. I'll get 150 more next fall. And like, I'm trying my best to build relationships with all those kids, but I get it right with some and not with others, right? Like, I just had 150 kids leave. All I want, uh, I appreciate when I get letters from these kids that say a good job, say I did a good job, right? If I built a relationship with a kid and they write a letter and I get to hear them say like thank you, then I know I did it right. So I got three this year out of 150. So what are we at? 2% there, right? It seems like I stay right at 2% is the number. So this job's really hard, and I'm trying really hard at it as a teacher and a coach. But I know I know I make mistakes. But what I want to talk about, the big topic here, is around like the school decision stuff. Um, like I think we have to do a better job, like at the dinner table, not talking about other kids and sports, but now about teachers. And I think I might have mentioned this in a previous episode, but I think I talk a lot about sports, and this is about school, right? Which is even more important, right? The kids are there. And I don't think we should share negative opinions about teachers, clusters, whatever. The kids do it fine. Let the kids do it. That's the kids' experience. But like you're hearing what an 8-year-old says to you or a 9-year-old or something, and they had a tough experience, even though a teacher might be trying as hard as they can, and sharing that with another 9-year-old, the first news they hear from their friend and their neighbor is like, oh, Will didn't have a good year with her last year. Like, I don't think that's helping anything. And I saw a skit on Instagram like 2 years ago where the kid got in the car and he was bummed because he didn't play or whatever. And this is like one of the coaches I follow, and there's people that are really good at this. Um, and it was like how to handle that conversation, right? So what happens a lot of time, kid gets in the car and we're like, oh, F that coach, F that team, you're better than her, whatever. And this is stuff I've done recently, right? That I'm trying to not do. Um, but like, what's the other way to spin it, right? And the guy spins it, the kid gets in the car and you're like, remember how happy you were when you made this team? And you're not playing as much as you want, but like think of like how happy you were when you made it and you're training with the best kids so we know you're getting better, right? Rather than going to like F them and the toxic stuff. So anyway, I think that's a way we can change that. And thinking about changing, another one, so I obviously coach a lot of kids. I would say sometimes I even tell them to like talk shit to like get engaged, right? If a kid, I feel like that like helps athletes or help me as an athlete. And the guy I just met this weekend was like, "Hey, dummy, why do you need to talk shit to somebody else? Like if I'm sitting there, why would my like, you blah blah blah, whatever, to get myself going?" And he's like, "I think what that needs to be is positive self-talk." Right? So he was like, why talk junk, right? If I'm a cornerback and there's a wide receiver, I can talk junk to him, or I can be like, oh, I'm the man. Oh, today you're not getting a ball. Yeah, well, sorry, I just did it there. But like, I think that's something we can change. And I don't know where coaches are at with this, but it's definitely something I've talked to my kids about. Like, I don't get mad to them if I hear them like talking junk as they run by someone on a soccer field. But like, but maybe we can change that. Like, why bother, right? Like, it has to be better to not put another person down. So that's one that I heard that I'm gonna have to try and think about how to change this summer. And thanks to my new friend for explaining that one to me. But back to the one big topic again. Um, I think as adults we have to do better not being toxic in the car and toxic in at the dinner table, and not just like we have to control our thoughts to our own kid, right? When they're down, we have to pick them up, right? When they're up, we can maybe work on growth a little bit. But this one was really more about school. The only other thing is I was sitting at a restaurant in Chatham like 3 years ago, and it was August, right? So what happens in some communities, they give the kids a schedule, but then they don't put teachers' names on it. Like these are your classes, so the kids know they get the classes they want, but they can't put teacher's name on it. And I think mostly that's just because they don't want the kids to start talking junk and switching classes. And me and Megan were sitting at a bar, and then we were next to like four moms, and all of a sudden at like 7 o'clock, like eight boys came in, whatever. And they were all just like, "Oh my God, I have this teacher." And the moms were sitting next to me, just going like, "Oh, okay, I'll call the school. We'll handle that. Like they're not a good one." And I think we just can't do that, right? Like I think we have to be better. We have to build relationships and support our schools and our coaches more than that. Um, but so I think that's my big topic. Like how I'm gonna think of like how can I catch myself every single time, right? School, sports, whatever. It has to be about our race, our journey, our growth. And when I say our, I mean our family, our kids, us as adults. Um, but so it's something I'm working on for sure. Maybe it's a question, maybe it's under one big topic, but just because it was coming out, right? Again, kids got their schedules, kids got their clusters, whatever. But I think we should challenge ourselves and do our best to not share our opinion, not even share our opinion or our kid's experience with another kid, right? Like if our kid didn't have a great year with that teacher, that stinks, and I'm sorry that happened. But like the first thing a kid hears about their next year's teacher shouldn't be from a friend, from like an aunt, uncle, neighbor, and being like, "Oh God, good luck." Right? I just think we have to be better there. Um, but so that's it. We'll see it's summertime now. I got a break from fields a little bit, but I think I have plenty of stuff to talk about. Um, but yeah, I guess that's it. So my new friend, I hope you listen to this, dude. To the new guys I met at the bar at the Marriott, what's up? Hope life is good. And to the other people I had dinner with on Dylan's lacrosse team, it was nice to meet you. And I'm rooting for you. But good luck, everybody. Have a good summer.